of days of practice where you got to get some of the younger guys a little bit more looks?
Good. I think that's the whole reason for, going to a bowl game is because of that. Is you get to take those freshmen, the redshirted kids, the kids that haven't played really all season, and get them really go back to base fundamentals. It really becomes, as we look at it, as 5 days of spring practice. So you get a kind of a little bit of what they can do, but more of teaching them base fundamentals, and even for the older kids, go back to base fundamentals instead of worrying about schemes and all the other stuff. Go back to fundamentals.
Were you satisfied how they did?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you have a long way to go, but it's just the fact that you get to see, they get to be coached, they get to learn things. So it's like you tell them, it's okay. Yesterday it ended. Now it's the stuff you got to retain, keep that film, watch that film for those guys prior to going into spring practice in the off season, January, February, of what you did, how you got to change, how you get better. But I mean, overall, it was decent.
Can you evaluate Jamal Claiborne in just the year that he had?
To me, like I've said it for as long as I've done this, is we go as a center goes. And he probably ranked about 8 and 4. I told him that the other day. I said, where you graded out the end of the season? I was right about, I think, 78%, which is, to me, if you come out, it's about 8 and 4. I think 8 and 4 is 66%. He was a little higher than that, but to me, as he gets up higher, he's going to go how we go. I think he learned quite a bit this season how to do things. He's got to still learn to become a better player, become a better leader, become a better center, become a better, leader of the offensive line and the offense, and take that role, I think. And sitting down and talking to him the last couple of days, that's what he's got to go into this offseason, go into really this game and into the offseason. That's what he has to take. And he's got to start in the weight, this game, obviously, but then into the weight room and into the offseason training to be that leader, to be the guy that everyone's going to look at, and he's going to control the team.
6 straight bowl games for this program. What do you think has kind of gotten this program into that direction, the right direction?
You look at the players we've had in the past, it's not based on what we have now, what we're going to have. It's what we've had before. The kids, when we got here, bought into it. The first year we didn't. But they can see the light, really, how we ended the season. And then to be going, into the off season, the kids learn, hey, you can win. And how you learn, here's how you do things, here's how you train in the off season, here's how you train. And those kids really that first year with Derek Sherrod and JC and Tobias Quinn, all those guys, they set the standard for that. Of how to compete, how to play, how to practice, how to do everything. And to me, it's kind of trickled down the same thing, but you go into these, the rich get richer. And how that happens is these bowl practices, because teams that don't make a bowl game, they haven't practiced, they haven't done a football since Thanksgiving, and they won't do it again until spring practice. Where to me, as we just talked about, is we just got 5 days with freshmen and redshirt freshmen, that if you didn't have those 5 days, they've been playing on scout team most of all the season. Now, they're not going to get any coaching, anything, plays. They're not going to hear plays. They're not going to get the fundamentals until spring. So they're in a sense, 5 days behind. So once you start, to me, going to bowl games, that helps that situation, because young guys are developing young guys for the future.
The circumstances put Belk and Jenkins out there, probably a few more snaps than you planned, and certainly got a couple of starts. But did that accelerate his development?
Yeah, he learned very quickly that he's got to get better. He's got to really detailed to his work, not just I'm athletic, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I can get away with it. Now it's all the details that come to being really where he's going into the end of this year and next year is I have to be detailed in all my pass pro sets and run blocking and assignments and understanding coverages, understanding fronts, understanding defense. Really, to me, we talk about learn what to do, how to do it, and why you're doing it. He knows what to do, he knows how to do it. It's the why that he's in the midst of figuring out and starting to figure out, and figured out that he's got to know that before he becomes a really successful player. Him, Dion, and even Jamal at the center position, the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why is the defense doing this? That's the answers they have to have going into, next season and really this bowl game.
Towards the tail end of the season practices and now in bowl camp, what have you seen from Martinez Rankin?
That's the same thing. He's got to go compete. To me, I can tell once the season's over, it's a free-for-all. There's no starters. Again, to me, I look at there's no one that sat there and graded out 95% every game. If there was, I'd say he's got a head start. Now, again, going next season, Jamal Claiborne, Devin Desper, Elton Martinez have a head start. That means nothing to me. To me, is they're going to start earning that today. They're going to earn that in January, February. I told them we're 8 and 4. We're 8 and 4 for one reason. Not what we did this season. What we did January, February, March, April, May, June, and July last year. That's where you win and lose games. You don't win and lose games during the season. That happened off season. We went back and looked at all little things from the weight room to the summer to development to individual stuff, drill work we did in the off season. That's where we got to get better at the spring practice. That's to me where we need to get developed better. We need to work harder. We need to take care of little things that happen during that way of, whether it's like the class, whether it's getting a 2.2 GPA instead of a 2.9. You know, everything else goes into this season. And that's what we have to do a better job, especially as my group, we have to do a better job starting for next season, not talking about this bowl game, from January 1st on until this time next year. If our off seasons are better than they were last year, we'll be better than they were. 2 years ago, we had great off seasons, had a great GPA in the spring, had great workouts, had great leadership in the summer workouts. That's why we were 10 and whatever, we won 10 games. So that's where they got to get to.
What separates, Jamal from that 78 to that 95? What are the little things that separate someone?
Exactly that, little things, just footwork, just bending, just communication, just all the things that, we went through the four losses we have. You go back to LSU, we don't communicate a thing, we don't pick a thing up, get it blitzed in the end, towards the fourth quarter when you go win the game. And we picked that up because he turns and says, and we've gone through it, was, hey, just re-ID the thing, tackle picks it up. Instead we throw hot, don't get it, have to kick the field goal. You complete that thing, it's a different game. Jamal, everything, Texas A&M, there's that first drive, we kind of just missed 2 blocks. We're on them, but we kind of slip off them, they make a play, which is a huge difference. But you look at it now as those little things. Again, that goes back to not getting that extra rep in the weight room, not getting an 89 instead of an 88 on the test. So it all ties together everywhere. In their life, being are they late, are they on time, are they getting extra treatments? Everything they do goes into the season.
What's he like? What's Jamal like? Not necessarily just technique and stuff, but as a leader, just his leadership skills, and is he vocal as a leader?
You know what, he is, and he's got to become more. He's got to become, again, I think with him he's a confident kid. He has to become more confident on the field. I think off the field, he's a very confident kid, who he is, what he believes in, his beliefs in everything he does. In the classroom, he's very confident. I think, again, on the field for him was knowing he had to take that role. I think he's got to become better at it. Become as vocal as he is everywhere. And you see him, you're around him, he's got a huge smile on his face, he's a great kid. Be the same way in the field, have fun doing it. You can't be tense and, am I making the right call? Yeah, go make it, you know what you're doing. And be confident. Now, I have all the confidence in the world as we would play him. But he's got to have it in himself all the time to do that.
Watch some of the kids work out, like say a Harrison Moon. I mean, he had a couple of days where everything was either high or low, but by the 5th day, he was on target on his snaps. Is that kind of what you expect out of guys during camp?
I don't ever want a bad snap, but for him, that was his really first. He's been kind of, toying with it. I've been toying with him all season with him on Sunday nights doing it. The last 4 or 5 days was his shot of go. Get calls, make things, and it's just, everything's probably, he's going at about 35, and he's got to be going 75 and 70-mile-an-hour limit. So he's just got to catch up. And again, that's another going to be for him, snapping, stepping, learning, watching film in the offseason.